To guns now. The government has unveiled a second round of firearms law changes in response to the mosque attacks in Christchurch. It's already made certain weapons illegal and it's set up that buyback scheme we've been hearing so much about. But the second bill will actually be setting up a national register, and it will require licences to be renewed every 5 years instead of the current 10, and impose a licensing regime on gun clubs as well as ranges. Now, I asked Police Minister Stuart Nash how the changes are going to deal with guns on the black market.
About 1,000 guns are stolen every year, or reported stolen every year. The vast majority of guns in the hands of the bad guys come from thefts from good law-abiding citizens. What we want to do is to ensure, first of all, we understand the demographic of gun ownership in this country. We want to know how many guns are here, where they are, but we also want to know that when police recover guns, where they have come from. There will always be a black market, but what we're trying to do is mitigate the risk of a black market growing. In fact, what we're doing and what we believe will happen here is the black market will actually shrink as gun owners take greater responsibility of their weapons themselves. Okay,
now under this system, we already in our laws have the fit and proper person test. These people are going to have to prove that they are fitter and more proper. In what way?
Well, in a number of ways that we think are, reasonably appropriate. So there's about 14 different flags that police can use when someone has applied for a licence. Now, it won't necessarily mean that they won't get a licence. What it does mean is that the police can actually dig a little bit deeper to see if the person does actually meet the fit and proper test.
Okay, so specifically, what does that mean? What information will the police be able to look at, analyse, and have access to that they don't already?
Well, let me give you an example. A lot of what we're talking about is in the arms manual, so it's not codified in legislation. We are putting this into legislation. I mean, it's, for example, if someone's been subject to a protection order, if they've shown no regard for the Act or the arms regulations, and been involved in substance abuse, has committed serious offences against the Act, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's the stock standard, I believe, pragmatic test that the vast majority of Kiwis would expect police to undertake when they are determining if someone is a fit and proper person. Okay, it's going to cost them more as well, isn't it? You're saying that those costs are not meeting the expenses that the police have each year regulating guns, and that those costs are outdated. What can gun owners expect to be paying? Well, we're going to go out to consultation with gun owners a little bit later on in the year, but that is not part of the legislation that we're developing at this point in time. But you make a good point. At the moment, it costs about $13 million a year to administer the Act. Police recover about $4 million. So that means that the taxpayer is out of pocket to the tune of about $9 million a year. The taxpayer is subsidising gun ownership to the tune of about $9 million a year. But as mentioned, these fees are set in regulation, and that is not part of this piece of legislation which we've just really talked about today. Right, but the whole process, of course, is going to involve more people. It's only going to get more expensive administering this new regime, right? And that's what Federated Farmers have come out today as saying that they're concerned about. They do, it seems from their language, support what's happening here, but they do say that it's yet to see really how the system plays out, and they're worried about those costs. They're also worried about practical things, the fact that gun owners loan guns to each other. I mean, have you looked into that kind of thing? Yes, no, we understand. We understand that, and what I would say to those who have concerns about proposed legislation is it will be in front of Select Committee for 3 months. But we have thought about a lot of the concerns that you've raised. As mentioned, we're going to look at the fee structure, but not as part of this piece of legislation. But what we wanted to do, certainly with the register, is we were very conscious of the fact we didn't want to have a whole new level of administration that took police resources, but nor did we want to have a massive compliance burden on gun owners. Hence the reason why this will be an online system. We do believe it'll be easy to comply with and easy to administer. There's also increased reporting duties by gun owners when they go through changes in their life. And you've even mentioned in the information there that someone becomes a gambling addict. I mean, this seems to be a little bit blurred. I mean, how will people be able to know if they're a gambling addict, and how is it sort of unrealistic to be expecting people to be coming forward and reporting these sorts of changes? Well, what we are doing is we're trying to ensure that only those people who are fit and proper to hold a licence actually do hold a licence and own firearms. And that's one of the reasons why we have reduced the licence term from 10 years to 5 years, because a lot of changes occur in someone's life over 10 years. Over 5 years, it's a little easier to understand how those circumstances may affect the fit and proper test.
But you really are thinking that the people who may have developed a gambling addiction will come forward and report that to you?
Well, maybe they will, but again, what we're talking about here is people who are fit and proper to own firearms. Keeping in mind that the ACC has said that over the last 9 years, the cost of firearms-related harm has been about $49 million. So it's not unsubstantial in any way, shape, or form. But again, I go back to the point that we're trying to ensure that only those people who are fit and proper can actually get a licence and therefore own firearms.
Okay, the first tranche of changes, the way it's been described, got through Parliament with just one dissenting vote. What sort of support are you looking at this time for this round of legal amendments?
Well, we've obviously got support of our coalition and supply and confidence partners. My officials have briefed National Party officials, but that is a decision for the National Party caucus to make. And obviously I don't go to their caucus, but we will hear in good time whether they decide to support this or not.
You haven't sounded them out?
No, my officials have briefed them. And as mentioned, it's a caucus decision, keeping in mind because of the 3-week recess. I'm unaware if their caucus has met and had the ability to discuss this, but we've certainly briefed them, and we're happy to reach out and work with them in a constructive way.
Police Minister Stuart Nash.